Vern, John, welcome to Talk Satellite. Welcome to Talk Satellite.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Kevin, for having us. It's been too long.
Apogee, can you bring us up to speed on your company, funding, headquarters in New Zealand, and so forth?
Be delighted to. It's been an amazing almost decade now that we've been pursuing a vision here of bringing a broadcast component to the unicast internet, and we've seen all of the extraordinary progress made on enhancing unicast ISP delivery with the LEO constellations. But the one thing that they're not optimized for is how do we take advantage of all of the massive capacity required to do live video streaming, which is a capacity gobbling service that we all pretty much watch much of the same stuff. The ability to have offload layer in addition to the unicast layer has been our focus. As you know, we started the company with the aspiration to launch our own dedicated global NGSO satellite license that was optimized for mobile and extreme broadband, leveraging the PowerFlex density advantages of a BSS constellation. Those plans overlap the COVID intrusion on us, but we used the time to good effort to evolve our architectural approach, and in the not very distant future, we'll resurface with an amended application to the ITU, again, which we are a New Zealand company in New Zealand. The New Zealand government is our sponsor at the ITU. So we continue to be one of the few global satellite and service providers that are domiciled in New Zealand that look to work on a global basis. Has been a wonderful experience with them. They were kind enough to include us at their reception at the Satellite 26 show a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C. They had a reception at the embassy and highlighted 4 New Zealand companies, Rocket Labs obviously being the highest profile and most successful to date. But we were delighted to also be invited to share our presence. What we have done in the meantime is evolve from the long-term objective of having our own dedicated constellation to solving some of the challenges and related opportunities that emerge from those by leveraging existing geosynchronous satellite capacity to augment the unicast satellite ISPs and terrestrial ISPs using a service that we have now labeled VoDoS, Video on Demand over Satellite. So it's basically transforming legacy TDM satellite communications historically that have been utilized for linear television and DTH and adding an IP broadcast layer on the same networks. Moving a transponder off of a TDM waveform onto a purely IP dedicated channel has been the objective, and we're doing that on behalf of our client and partner customer here in the United States called Castanet 5G, more about which in a few minutes. But also on the international basis, John is leading the efforts to work with regional satellite system operators that have existing installed DTH customer bases that do not currently participate in the internet streaming revolution. So this new layer of service, it's an overlay network. It complements both terrestrial and satellite-based unicast ISPs to deliver and edge cache, which is a big part of our service bundle, that most popular streaming video content that is highly replicated, market by market, region by region.
The DTH operators in many countries are starting to lose subscribers. They're losing them to the over-the-top operations, which are terrestrially delivering the streaming services like Disney Plus and Netflix, etc. So they're starting to lose subscribers because they can't offer those services. So what we're planning to do is to provide them with the most popular over-the-top content delivered by their existing satellite DTH platform, and hopefully helping them stop their erosion of subscribers through that. And a lot of the Asian services in particular are losing subscribers as terrestrial networks gradually grow. So, yeah, we think we've got quite an attractive offering for DTH satellite operators.
What are the initial services that Apogee will offer? What do these bring to the market?
So basically, it's a satellite-based extension to the global internet. It's internet-centric, seamlessly compatible with all the internet protocols, but organized through the efficiency of satellite broadcasting, where we, our satellite gateways and uplinks around the world, assimilate the feeds from our wholesale customers on the media distribution side, and then transcode them into the IP format, distribute it back up over the existing geosynchronous satellites that are serving the various regions. And as John had mentioned, an existing DTH operator has an installed base. The antennas are there. They're already pointed at the same satellite. So by migrating one or more transponders that are currently serving linear TDM video and transforming that percentage of the service bundle off the transponder into IP channels, suddenly with a parallel receiver at the edge that's a user plug-and-play receiver for the IP tuner plus the edge cache, all the consumer has to do is basically disconnect the coax from their current set-top box, put it into a splitter. One half of the splitter goes back to the original TDM linear TV DTH box. The other one goes to our edge cache receiver that is the IP-centric box. So you will have literally a miniature version of the internet and the content that you would normally want to fetch off the internet with a unicast connection right there available, quick as the consumer can click in their own home or, for that matter, mobile vehicle.
So partnerships, so important in today's market. Who will Apogee be working with to provide VoDoS?
So we put together a partnership that is a global partnership. Our principal satellite system integrator here in the United States is Mainstream Data of Salt Lake City, and through them plugged into the USEI Global Teleport Network and their terrestrial fiber feeder network, so we can do content contribution pretty much anywhere internationally on the USEI fiber contribution network. And then here in the United States, they have facilities in both the Brewster Teleport here in Washington and the Vernon Valley Teleport in New Jersey. Gives us both domestic North America plus transatlantic and transpacific connectivity from those two primary facilities here. Then USEI has, I believe, a global network of 12 teleports. On the infrastructure and hardware side, we're partnered with Forceway of Sweden, which has made a very beautiful thin client IP consumer device called the Odin, and also 21st century highly efficient gateway and uplink. So we can literally manage the IP distribution in an amazingly limited amount of rack space equipment. When we put in the prototype system at the Brewster Teleport, it was extraordinary to realize we were sitting here with a couple of RUs, and next couple of RUs replaced were 2 racks full of equipment that was the old way of doing things. It's a whole new ballgame here in terms of cost efficiency and the utility of transformation into the internet and IP-centric world. So we're not doing anything here that's revolutionary in the sense of it's all standards-based, it's all growing out of the incredible assimilation of all things connectivity related in the IP world, with all the new flexibility and all the new application layers that we get from being an IP-centric service. The fact that this is still there available for us to go get it always shocks me. I would have thought that the incumbents would have done this a decade ago, but they, for whatever reasons, did not get around to it. We're finding a great momentum to get going. So VoDoS Media is a Greek-based operator that's been doing current run motion pictures into commercial maritime applications. What's very exciting about what they've worked with is getting their technology certified by the major Hollywood studios for digital rights management and conditional access protections. And most importantly, given we're talking about delivering services in a lot of places that don't have existing unicast internet connectivity in many cases, or it's very meager or marginal, silly in some cases as a 2G cell phone ISP and the old edge approach on the GSM side of things. Offline DRM, the ability to protect that content that's valuable and does not want to be hijacked by copyright thieves. We have, through VoDoS Media, very robust offline digital rights management. So think of it as the ability to distribute the offline internet. So locally at your edge cache, you can have a massive amount of the utility that you would normally find on the public internet, but it's a pre-positioned version of the public internet sitting there on your typically 4 terabyte edge cache at your home device. So it's a distributed cloud architecture, the idea of moving from the unicast world of big data centers out to what one might describe as a massively distributed virtualized data center where the content is in millions of separate end devices instead of on millions of servers in a highly concentrated data center. The economics and the environmental enhancements from this architecture are extremely interesting.
VoDoS, in terms of market take-up, how do you see that playing out? And can you provide any case study information?
Well, we're not studying, we're doing. The relationships in our business model, we're a B to B to C operator. What does that mean? Our business model is based on revenue sharing because our cost of distribution is flat as contrasted to the unicast internet, which each and every download has a discrete cost. So the OTT streamers, the more successful they are in getting people to take down a particular piece of content, the more money it costs them to reach that audience or to address that demand. In our case, both satellite and terrestrially, our cost of distribution is flat. So the same information is going to millions of endpoints at the same time on whatever the discrete cost of that one satellite or terrestrial TV transmission requires. We have infinitely variable enhanced economics, inverting the paradigm of the unicast internet, and the business relationships where we have advantage are at both ends of the value chain. So we bring incredibly increased economic performance to the OTT streamers themselves that are currently paying to move their content into regional data centers. At that point, their cost of distribution as a Netflix or a Paramount or a Hulu, that's where their expense of content distribution typically ends, is in a regional data center, hundreds of them around the world. But the last mile is 100% thrown onto the shoulders of the local ISPs, whatever they might be, whether they're a cable company ISP, a fiber to the home telco ISP, or a DSL for that matter, obsolete telco ISP, a cellular operator, a wireless ISP, a satellite ISP, whether it's a geosatellite like Viasat or HughesNet, or whether it's a LEO ISP like Starlink or Kuiper or Lightspeed. Each and every one of those unicast ISPs has a discrete cost of distribution that is finite, and they have all of the challenges of distributing highly popular content, especially as it's moved into the video realm, to all of those millions of discrete endpoints. We reach them all at the same time. So our customers, back to answering your question specifically, are the studios and the content owners and distributors. I'll be a little bit reticent here about sharing what those relationships that we're working on right now, but suffice it to say they are the brand names that one would expect to find in the OTT and streaming world. And then on the other side of the occasion, and we think we have a wonderful opportunity, not yet realized, they don't even know we exist yet, I suspect, and that's with the likes of Starlink and the other KU band fixed ISPs via satellite. I'm not talking about the non-terrestrial network side here. I'm talking about the KU band fixed ISPs. They have a discrete amount of capacity and a tremendous challenge of spectrum sharing between the various LEO licensees. Starlink clearly has the first mover advantage here, but it's still finite. Each one of those spot beams has a discrete amount of capacity, and Mr. Musk has been absolutely perfectly honest and transparent about that. And when he talks about the benefits of Starlink in places like where John is and where you are, it's fantastic. But you move that spot beam over a major metropolitan area, and you've only got enough capacity to probably serve one neighborhood. So there is a density issue where the lower the density, the more fantastic the LEO unicast ISPs are. And they are definitely growing, and the more satellites and the more frequency reuse they get, they will improve and continue to improve their game. But that game is still defined by the amount of bandwidth, spectrum bandwidth, available in each spot beam. So in our case, our same amount of bandwidth from the geosynchronous overlay on top of that system is incredibly more efficient to reach everybody in every spot beam at the same time. Our leveraging of the legacy incumbent geosynchronous networks is an obvious and incredibly efficient way at a CONUS-wide or nationwide scale, depending on your region of the world, to have a new layer of internet content distribution on behalf of both the content owners and distributors, who we are treating as our wholesale customers, and our other wholesale customers, which are the ISPs and the last mile providers from whatever format they're operating in. We are an overlay and offload network to both ends of that value chain. So I think we're having our first real coming out party here literally next week at the NAB show in Las Vegas. And I think we've been keeping our head down and our mouth shut here pretty much for the last 2 years while we put all of the pieces together and got the technology suite matured. But it's time to let people know there's some new and very interesting services going to be added to the ecosystem.
And Vern demonstrated VoDoS during NAB East in October, but a fairly limited demo, but it showed some key potential customers that it works. But the big coming out is at the next NAB, as Vern said.
Does Apogee have further ambitions after VoDoS?
Yeah, we want to launch our own dedicated constellation. We still aspire to be, so all the work I did at Kymeta trying to bring, satellite connectivity into mobile platforms and ultimately the normal mass manufactured automobile and transportation fleets, that is still an unrealized opportunity and objective. The challenge has been the combination of satellite link budget and capacity and bandwidth and the power of the link to support an antenna form factor that's small enough and inexpensive enough to fit into that probably 10-inch square amount of real estate that exists on the surface or the roof of most vehicles. I'm sure you're very well aware of the amazing progress that Kymeta and others have made, largely now moving in still into the higher end enterprise and military and defense applications. But the antennas are fairly large, and they're fairly large because they need the aperture to deal with the link budget of the existing satellites. Our vision and our objective is to move into the BSS NGSO range, giving us 4 times the power flux density limits on the ground that will support closing a link budget to a low-cost, small form factor antenna optimized for the mobile world. So that is still our long-term goal. And I think, Kevin, it's having been at this for a long time. 10 years ago, when I talked about bringing broadband mobile to the automotive industry, when we were working on things like the XM satellite, which merged with Sirius satellite for the S-band mobile platforms, and you talk to the auto industry, it took 5 years to get that to happen. And then we flash forward to the middle of last decade, and a lot of energy and interest was raised by what we were doing at Kymeta and others. And, the auto industry, 5 years, what is that now? It's 10 years ago almost. It was always 5 years in the future. Well, as we get up this morning and face the world, guess what? It's still 5 years in the future. So it's as one of my strategic advisors describes the auto industry, is they move at the speed of coastal erosion. So, but when they move, it's a big deal. I think with our VoDoS bridging technology to make the world aware of and enjoying access to low-cost, internet-centric content over existing legacy infrastructure, that will prepare the path for what we would like to do ultimately and make us grow into a significant enterprise that has the financial wherewithal to truly tackle that global constellation.
How about any other innovative projects that you're looking to bring to market?
With the NVIDIA and AI RAN world evolving at the pace it's now evolving, where we have, for the first time in history, instead of what my whole career has been based on is innovation bubbling up from the bottom, where people find a new service, create a new solution, find a new way to exploit a different frequency band. And first you get the regulatory and the spec technology and the standards, and 5 years later, maybe you're ready to go to business. Well, this time, the whole industry has, thanks to Jensen Huang, NVIDIA has come forward with a top-down architectural vision that has been laid out as an AI RAN vision for how artificial intelligence can impact positively all of our industrial and telecommunication segments, both in the data center side and as you move AI into the physical reality, into the world where we have to have autonomous vehicles, industrial robots, humanoid robots, all the things that have been envisioned and are coming at us very quickly. When you move from behind the glass and in the data centers and bring it into the physical realm, suddenly there is a huge challenge to coordinate all of this. And what we have evolved and have been working on diligently is the missing what they call primitive in the AI world, which is time. And with the GPS satellite constellations now being very fragile, being proved to have a lot of challenges to deliver the services that we here in the United States, we are almost completely dependent on the GPS constellation. And yet it is fragile, hackable, spoofable, doesn't work indoors. What we've been evolving on our side is working on taking our satellite overlay network and combining it with our terrestrial television broadcasting layer, which we haven't talked about much yet. That company is called Castanet 5G, and that company is transforming legacy television broadcast towers into IP broadcasting facilities under FCC rules called the Broadcast Internet. And what we have been able to do, thanks to the Global Cellular Standards Body, embracing our terrestrial TV spectrum and adding G broadcast into the GPP standard, we now have the ability, and what we've been doing for the last 2 years is creating the technology to integrate the G packets into the next-gen ATSC 3.0, as it's called, next-gen TV standard. So we have the regulatory gives us the approval on the TV broadcast internet standard, and then ancillary service of 5G packets integrated. So for the first time, we will have the power of broadcasting, and the very high powers of even low power TV is 15,000 watt transmitters into your pocket, your home, your car, and to put a cesium clock layer of timing surety at the TV broadcast towers creates a whole new temporal oracle, as the AI industry calls it, timing factory. So to augment initially and perhaps ultimately displace GPS is the primary timing source to coordinate not only all of our cellular networks, our telecom networks, our electric utilities, and all the other things that rely on GPS for timing as we move into the autonomous world of all kinds of robotic devices trying to function in the physical world safely with we humans. As the cars navigate the highways and the robots navigate the factories, there is a need for a unified, universal, secure, robust, resilient timing source. And our satellite network and our terrestrial network become the logical way for us to manage and maintain, or not maintain, but add a new layer of the master clock, if you will. So all of those future devices can all be synchronized market by market, region by region. So every autonomous device is functioning on the same time. It doesn't matter if the time in Seattle, where I am, is the same as the time in Sacramento, California. What matters is that everybody in Seattle is on the same time. All of those devices, region by region, to be synchronized and coordinated is a huge opportunity that we have been positioning ourselves to address. So we have found our corner of the AI world, and that is a big part of our future story as well.
Vern, John, thank you very much indeed. Look forward to hearing more about your successes as we continue.
Thanks, Kevin.
We are durable, and we are dedicated, and we are stubborn. So you will see us as we move along. It will be fun to stay in touch, Kevin, and it's always a joy to chat with you. Thank you so much.